Hi, welcome to the pod. Focus. That word probably throws mixed reactions. To some, we're well acquainted with just how important it is. To others, it might remind you of motivational videos that you don't want to hear about. To some other group of people, it might be that word that has been thrown around so much that it has lost its meaning. Or maybe the word even reminds you of something that you struggle with. Or if you're like me or how I was, it might be a word that you struggle with because it seems a bit confining and restrictive to your creativity. But no matter where you are at, this episode is a balanced perspective to what I believe is a law of life from the lenses of my experience this year. This episode will be practical, it would approach the subject in a very healthy way, and through my story, inspire you to take those little or big steps that go a very long way. So, with that said, I'm David Cromwell, and I believe in the virality of thought and the power of conversations to shape how we live for the better. This space is where those conversations happen, and a home for people who are on a journey to truly live the way we're created to. Welcome to this safe space. Welcome to Cromwell's Harbor. All right, let's get in. All right, so what comes to your mind when you think about focus? Do you think about the Will Smith classic, the movie where they had this ability to be able to steal from anyone without them even knowing? I really hope they do a rerun very soon. Or do you think about that motivational speaker yelling with the video of some guy in the gym working out, which I may or may not listen to a lot? Or do you think about gym videos where guys are hyping themselves up, telling each other to lock in? Man, I don't know where we Gen Z guys get all these phrases from, but oh, yeah. I recently heard about this phrase called active, like too active. It's sticking on me though. Too active. This is active. I was like, man, it's I like it. It sounds nice. Well, I learned how to use it well. But let me tell you what usually used to come to my mind, and that was the idea of something being confining. I never liked it because it just felt like it was restrictive, right? If you know me, you know how much I am on this never-ending quest to be the very best that I can be and to see the very best that life has to offer. And so the idea of just narrowing down on a particular thing was not something I was excited about. I always had this whole feeling like I just want to be the very best that I could be. And so the idea of focus actually rubbed me off in the wrong way. But as I've grown, I've come to be able to would I say become friends with this particular concept. And the funny thing is I still have so many years ahead of me. And I'm starting on this journey where I will continually keep on appreciating and loving the idea of focus. But let's say we are becoming better friends now. What I've started to see is that it appeared to be a bit confining on the surface, but beneath it, it actually is quite liberating. Do you ever have an idea of looking at something that looked a particular way, or maybe meeting someone that looked a particular way from distance, and you get close and you're like, oh, wow, this person is not. This person actually very, very friendly. I think that's how focus had been or has been to me. And this might have one or two things to do with adulting. But yeah, like there has been that element of it of just craving that simplicity and not having so much running through my mind. And that has been part of the reasons why I would I say almost got forced into embracing focus because I started to understand and come to terms with the fact that you can do everything, but just not at the same time. And I'll even take it a step further and even say that you can know a lot of things, but just not at the same time and not in the same way. And it's not limiting, rather, it's quite liberating because it's the only way to actually get things done. So the man that never locks in Gen Z Palace would have many ideas but hold none. But the man who locks in would at least get the opportunity to get to hold one. And if you can master and become friends with time, you then not get the ability to actually like get things done. And then you can move on to the next thing and get that done. Move on to the next thing and get that done. And you can get so much done by just learning how to be friends with this particular law of life. Let me stop myself there before I finish the entire episode, before I get into the heart of it. So, with that said, let's look in. Um, Sometimes you might just know a bit too much about too many things. So interestingly, the image that I have of focus many times is of Jesus Christ, right? You know, he's sending his disciples and he's telling them, "Yo, don't go to anyone else except for the lost sheep of Israel." Then at the end of his ministry, he then says, "Go into the rest of the world." He just knew the confines of his assignments per time. He just knew what was the focus per time. What you see a lot from his example is you never see him just be like, like, man, ministry is bubbling. Let's go to Ethiopia. Right. Um, and we never even see about just how much he knew about, other things. There's just that sense of like clarity as to a lot of more focus on the main thing. And I think this is probably something that is like the biggest thing that our generation kind of struggles and has to work with. And I think anyone that wants to really grow in any area has to master. And if I be honest, just be transparent on this. It's something that I'm growing as well because I think when you're someone that is very mentally active, you're probably very creative, a lot of ideas, you're very excited by the process because a lot of ideas come, but there's that diligence to actually sit down with things and incubate them and get them done. And I fear that a culture that always trains us, like I said in the previous episode, of always moving to the next thing might not be ideal to work with this law of life that for you to birth anything or grow in anything, it requires a lot of intentional care. So the only thing that actually grows by accident are weeds, or without intention is weeds. They are weeds. But if you want to grow things that are beautiful, like a garden, you need to have intentional care because growing at things requires effort. You don't actually have like an infinite amount of mental real estate, for lack of a better word. Like I mean, like your mind, like attention span, right? You don't have unlimited time. You don't have unlimited efforts. So if everything that I want to grow at requires a lot of effort and time and energy, and I don't have an infinite amount of it, it means that there's only so much that I can be growing per time. And every time that I spend not investing in the main thing, there is in a sense, like energy lost or time lost from being able to actually invest in that main thing. Do you get? So that's usually what's called the opportunity cost in business. Like, okay, so sometimes you think about just how, like, cost from a standpoint of what we wasted. But when you think about the fact that we could have used that same time, that same money to have put in this place, and we could have gotten this thing instead, you start to realize that many times, like, distraction is really expensive, right? So imagine if you're someone that's trying to grow in, let's say you're trying to build, maybe you're trying to overcome a habit, right? But you're also trying to learn another thing or grow in another area or start this or start this or start. So when you do your priority list, you kind of identify that, man, this is the most important thing to me right now, right? Every time that you spend not doing the main thing, you've lost valuable time that could have been invested in that main thing and actually making some good amount of progress. And obviously, there's a limit to it. You can't just say you will just put yourself 100% to one thing. You will just be very one directional, and that doesn't help in any way. I think it's a bit more dynamic than that. But the heart of it really is just the fact that when you have that clarity, and many times, like in our generation, what we have to guard against is not just even bad things. It's just knowing a lot about things that really are not like if you really and this is one of the hardest things you would ever learn how to do is to learn how to tell good things that they are not important. It is one of the hardest things to do. To learn how to tell things that are nice, that you are not the thing, and say no to them, right? So imagine me maybe trying to be like, it's very, maybe if there's a new thing that's happening in the body of Christ, right? Maybe somebody is singer, apparently is doing some things and people are calling the person out. Am I speaking from personal experience? Spending 30 minutes watching people's reactions to that thing is good. I'm more informed about what's happening in the body of Christ. But when I think about that, if I spend that 30 minutes relative to the fact that maybe I'd had a very long day, um, I could tell that person needs to nap and then be energized to actually do more things. I actually wasted that time. Considering the fact that the relative value of knowing versus the value of sleeping, or just even not knowing or doing something else, would have been of more value to my own path and to my own journey. And I think that's where the relativity of all these things come into play. But to be able to just know that the enemy in our generation, because of the fact that we get the chance to know so much, I have a concern that our generation might be one of the people that we talk a lot big about things that we will do, but we will never get to do them. And my main concern is that the reason why we might not be able to do them is because of this particular habit, this particular art of focus. Because we are the generation that has the most things competing for our attention more than any generation has ever existed before, right? And I would recommend that you start the journey of learning how to focus. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy at all, but it's going to be very important. So I think one thing that has been coming to my heart is that, okay, so sometimes focus can be boring, can also sometimes look limiting, but the things, if I do a lot of things, I might never get to see results in any of them. But if I focus on a couple of things, I get to see those things actually come to life. Right. So I'm learning that habit of being able to really pace myself. So there's a phrase that I've been carrying, and that's slow is smooth, smooth is fast, and fast is deadly. Right. So I might not move as fast as I want to, but if I move slow at a pace enough to be able to do it consistently in a focused way, I will see results and be able to get good at something enough to make out time to now move on to the next thing, rather than trying to do so many things at the same time and never getting any of them done. Right. So there's a balance. Obviously, there's some things I feel like you can actually multitask. So this is not saying you cannot. But I think there is when I say multitask, I mean like you can be growing at things at the same time. Like you can actually maybe be working on bathing more regularly whilst you work on your devotion habits. They are not against each other. You can work on maybe sticking to a meal plan whilst you work on, maybe working out more. They are not against each other. I think you can handle it, but it's relative. Maybe you cannot, right? So that's fine. That's okay. But just know what you can handle and know that I don't think it's always linear. Like, it's only just one thing you can do per time, right? So I hope that makes sense. I hope that does. So practically speaking, what I think that I think you should think about, and I have been thinking about is, what are things that take my energy, my mind share, my time, that are not the most important things? What are the most important things? I would say this particular question, I'm still journaling it. I'm still trying to study it. But I'll say this is one of the toughest questions to answer in the world. Like, what is the most important thing? What's the next most important thing? What's the next? What's the next? Like, to actually be able to say that, I think it's a tough question, but the more you get the ability to answer it. So, and the reason I say it's a tough question, obviously, like if you're speaking Christianese, you might maybe say, oh, something that sounds very Christian friendly. But like when you sit down and actually ask yourself, based on the things that I actually invest myself into, what is really the most important thing to me? Not what should be the most important thing. What is the most important thing? Right? Then you can then now ask yourself what should be. And what you can now start to focus on is changing that. But, but where I'm heading at really is just being able to ask that question, like what is the most important thing and what should be, right? And to then now give yourself, or to ask another question, really. One of them is like, how frequently do I give my time to the things that are the most important or should be the most important thing, right? Do I see them regularly? Do I hear them regularly? So the enemy with focus is not bad. Is not in quotes something that's bad. The enemy with focus is the good things that are not the main things. When you don't have the ability to know what the main things per time, and this cuts across everywhere, devotion, even your workout, like what's the main thing you're trying to grow at? When you don't have that per time, you might start to notice that growth might be a bit staggered and a bit frustrating. So for me in practice, this kind of looked like some things that I did, and I hope it makes sense. So I created a board where I put pictures of people that I admired and their quotes, and I just see it regularly because the more I see it, the more it reminds me of the things that are the most important to me, right? I created a structure that helps reinforce habits that I want to build. So I just had this whole tracker. To be honest with you, this is not even me trying to, blah. I'm a tracker. The way I dey abandon it itself. Is it can be very interesting and very wild. But the structure itself I hold on to, but the habit of actually going to the tracker, sometimes I'm not the strongest on it. But you can make use of that. But like I do it, but not as it's still something I'm growing in. That's what I would say. Another thing that has really helped is journaling my Bible studies, so I could always reread them and focus, like read what the focus of the season is for me. And I also journal like words that God gives me in the month. So I just be able to open up my Google Keep on the road and I can just read what God has said to me. Then, there was a nudge that I got to like design my room in a way where I could have like my side table beside me and a lamp that was rechargeable, and my Bible on it. So literally when I wake up, it's like second nature to open up my Bible. Or if I'm up at night, like I have my Bible to read. So I'm kind of creating my environment in a way that it enables me to always see the main things. Do you get like um yeah, I had this whole thing. I created like this short list of like scriptures that I always read, maybe on in my commute. So instead of focusing on the road, I have these things that I'm seeing continually. And one thing I want to do is I want to create like this AI doodle of words that prophecies or things that I want to do or things that I want to achieve, right? So I just get the chance to just see them a bit more than I typically would because I see a lot of things. If you use media, you see a lot of things, right? So when you get that chance to see a bit more, that many times could be, what helps. Then also my retreat, I journaled it, and I get a chance to read those things on the go, and I put it on my Google Drive, so I always have it with me everywhere I go. Yeah, so also disconnecting really one thing, a habit I'm trying to build. So this one is something I'm aiming for. I don't have it on lock and key yet. Is having those digital free hours, but not just even that. Kind of like building like a to-do list of what I want to do on social media before I click on the app. So I may be like waiting for like I want to check as primitive as it can be. I want to check whether Fabrizio Romano has posted a new update on transfers. Right. And just write all of them. Like maybe when it gets to five, I open up the app and check and do the five, and then I leave. Right. Rather than just opening it because of one thing and you trust Instagram like a wave, and you are a very bad surfer. And it will just wash over you before you know it. You're 1 hour in and you don't even know why you went there to begin with, right? So why do I share all of these things? And why I always try to be very, very honest with where I am with these things is so that you're not falsely impressed. This is a journey of somebody growing and sharing his journey with other people, right? And so I want it to be something that inspires and pushes people to take that journey in their own self. So listen to this as many times as you need to. I would be very, very encouraged if I look into the, thing and seeing that a lot of people are really listening to stuff. And drop a comment. I talk a lot in this episode. So please let me know that I wasn't talking to myself. Share with me your experience trying it out. Send me pictures of things that you built because of this. I would be very, very encouraged. Send me emails. Who comments? Share with a friend. Let's go on this journey together. Journey is people trying to truly live the way we were created to. Yeah, that's really what this is all about. Please share with me. And I don't want to do it alone. I want to do you guys. Thank you. T for thanks. So almost wrapping up with this pod. It's been a long shalayin that I've been shalayin. um and the core message I would like to pass is this: like, don't give up on this year. Um, rest, reset, review, and forge ahead. Right? Change your approach, and use this media as an opportunity to, like I said, rest, reflect, forge ahead with new ways. I might not do this every year, because I really do believe that this year is a special year. There are no horoscopes in sight or anything. I'm typically right when I get these nudges. And I think it's going to be a year that you'll be grateful that you made that push. So here's a very interesting challenge. So, um, whatever you'd like to be like a feature in your life for the next 10 years, it could be a habit, it could be a dream, it could be a structure, anything in any shape or form. Just try to achieve it in some very, very little form before the year is over. So I've mentioned a couple of other things that you could glean from, and I hope you use this as a push to be able to do it. And like I said earlier, and like my friend also said, do it with other people so you're not doing it alone, right? But whatever it might be, do it in seed form. So maybe you want to be like a serial entrepreneur. Just just you might even just trade. Just buy you can buy three perfumes and sell it to someone. Maybe you want to be an investor. Give somebody 20K or 10K or whatever amount you have to do something in their business. Just sow in some very small seed form that thing you want, the things that you want to be and do. You might want to be a healthy person. Just buy skipping rope. you know, whatever it might be, you want to be an amazing parent. Just subscribe to a YouTube channel that they talk about parenting stuff. All right, whatever it is, just in a very small seed form. And when you do that seed form, try the next seed form, right? And let's see how we can. So let's go on that journey together, and we'll talk about it even more. I don't mind being accountable. You can let me know how it's going. But I hope you're able to glean from these episodes, from my experiences, from the experiences of other people, from the stories of others, and everything that I shared earlier. And I hope you're able to have a great time at the harbor. Um, yeah, I hope you gave you a push on your journey to truly live the way you're created to. So I will ask my question. So yeah, do you feel inspired? Do you feel related to? Do you feel seen? And did this leave you better? So if so, put it into practice, ask your questions, share with me your journey, share with other people your journey, and let's go on this journey together. See you next time at the Harbor. Bye.